Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fire Force Chapter 242. When we last left our heroes, the White-clad raid on Amaterasu began with Company 8 and Ogun and Arrow being the last line of defense. Arrow and Hinawa, demolished hundreds of Infernals, though Ritsu then summoned some giant Necropyro Infernals. They started to work on, before we could really focus on that, Charon tried to attack Arrow in revenge for Arrow betraying the Whiteclads, and Ogun just decked him, starting an incredibly great fight between Charon and Ogun, where we also learned a little bit about why Charon is so insistent on destroying the world, being that Haumea has listened to the darkness of the collective unconscious for her entire life, and he wants to end that pain for her. So it's great to finally get that kind of detail into Charon, and it's setting up a great fight between Charon and Ogun. So yeah, all that being said, let's jump right on into Chapter 242, The Woven Lineage. And our picture here is of an Infernal, I love the design choice for this Infernal. Consumed by flame, yet they do not fall. Their pain is the seed that makes hellfire surge. And so we open not with Ogun and Charon, but with Arthur, who just takes a seat in the middle of, on the edge of the battlefield. The defensive line is drawn in Amaterasu. Ogun versus Charon. Hinawa and the others versus Ritsu. Meanwhile, the knight sits and waits. And we see, next to him, or in front of him, the shoe of a fire soldier, or the leg of a fire soldier, maybe Obi or someone who's not actively engaged in battle right now, and what looks like an infernal dog paw, or something. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be. I think it's just an infernal, and yeah, it is Obi, who uses one of his many weapons to destroy the infernal. And Arthur just sits there, presumably waiting for Dragon, is my guess. But Obi calls out, "Are you okay, Ogun?" "Yeah, just leave Charon to me." And Charon just glares at him. And Charon yells, "The Cataclysm is happening. I don't care how many people you throw at us." And Ogun jumps in with a flurry of fists. "Protecting the people is my duty and responsibility." And Charon counters, "Who gives a damn about your duty?" And yet we see, is this Charon's leg? It kind of comes off the ground. It looks a little small to be Charon's leg. I imagine you have a bulkier foot and ankle than that. But I think it is. Because he lifts up and then stomps, creating a huge explosion that Ogun gets out of the way of. And Ogun yells, "My duty comes all the way from the last Cataclysm." But Charon just, without responding, claps, creating a big explosion again. But Ogun appears behind him, ready for another punch. And it hits Charon, cracking Charon's neck a tad, but not doing much beyond that. Oh no, and the little response here leads to another explosion that hits Ogun straight in the face. Instead of dodging like the last two, he's just completely blindsided by it. Damn it! What is he, a walking bomb? Ogun isn't too beat up by it, though. Rescuing, saving, that all sounds great. But there's salvation and destruction, too. And Ogun just looks at him, as Charon creates another explosion, seemingly does not get Ogun, because Ogun reappears above him and lands another punch. So what? You're gonna blow everything up? I don't think punching is going to do much good in the end against Charon here, Ogun. Nothing's changing here. You need a new strategy. At least go into, your Inky form. But either way, Ogun lands another punch on Charon. "The immigrants of this country are here because of my ancestor." Wait, what? That's new. I don't think we knew that before. We knew that, all the people who survived the Cataclysm came to Tokyo, so, there being immigrants makes sense. But the fact that Ogun's ancestor is responsible for that seems like brand new information. Though it would tie into, the lineage part of the title, The Woven Lineage. But anyway, Ogun stares at Charon. "I'll never abandon them." And here's the flashback for it. My ancestor was a ship captain, and when the Cataclysm came, he'd carry anybody, regardless of their race or status. The Cataclysm made the seas stormy, and the passengers were terrified. But he'd sing to them, reggae songs about love. He gave them courage and peace of mind as he carried them across the sea. He boarded a ton of people, including the man who would be known as Raffles the and brought them all here. Ah, so is it Ogun's ancestors' fault that all of this happened? No, if Yona hadn't found Raffles, he would have become someone else. But I imagine that has to be before Raffles was killed and replaced with Yona. Anyway, Ogun, finishing that flashback, I became a fire soldier because I have a responsibility to protect the people he brought. I'm going to defend them to the very end. That's my duty. Wait, did he say this out loud? Alright. And Hinawa says, Ogun Montgomery, descendant of the immigrant hero, the man who saved Raffles the I'm guessing he said all this out loud. To be honest, I wanted him for Company 8 over Shinra and Arthur. Oh, damn! And Maki just snaps, Lieutenant! And that finally makes Arthur at least open one eye to look up. And Maki calls over... Obi comforts Arthur. He's wrong, Arthur. You and Shinra were our first pick. You were more disappointed than anybody that we couldn't get Ogun. Hinawa! Alright, I mean, given the family backstory, it does make sense that Hinawa and Obi would find him a natural fit for the 8th. But Arthur just casually says, Ogun is truly an impressive individual. I blame you not. That's more serene than Arthur has ever been. He must really be prepping for his fight mentally prepping for his fight with Dragon. See? What are you? And so Obi and Hinawa continue bickering, as Ogun says, you just keep yourself ready, Arthur. We're gonna take Shinra back. And Arthur just responds, heh. And here it is, Flamy Ink! Ogun is ready to go with his, as far as we know, ultimate form. Honestly, a part of me expects he's going to pull out a new form by the fight's end. But anyway, after he's, all inked up, let's do this! And Charon just gets ready for the next hit. As Ogun dashes at him. And Ogun thinks Charon's going to absorb my attack and return it. Or not, because Charon dodges and, grabs Ogun's arm, as he was, the arm he was using to punch with. And Charon just tells him, something tells me I shouldn't take that first hit. Oh, damn. And he slams Ogun into the ground. So much force there. As a reminder that Charon has much more at his disposal than just his counter abilities. And Ogun just trembles, shakes as he's on the ground. And Charon raises his... Oh, he's gonna do a stomp right on Ogun's head. Oh, shit. Yeah, this is a full-on explosion. And everyone just watches in shock at Ogun's defeat. And Charon turns to the rest of the Company 8. That's one. Who's next? Okay. Overwhelming power. What kind of technique can bring down this destroyer of hope? To be continued chapter 243, Us Back in the Day. And here we have a color version of Charon's dodge. Okay. So, I was not expecting that full defeat Ogun faced. I wasn't really expecting Charon to go down this chapter, of course. But I was expecting the fight would continue for a while longer. But no. If the end of this chapter is anything to go by, Ogun just loses. I don't think he's dead, for one thing. Let's get that out of the way. I do not think Ogun is dead. That would be a really sudden change, a really sudden turn. Just have Ogun be dead already. So I don't think he's dead. I do think, though, that he's out of the picture for at least a few chapters, if not the rest of the fight. He's took that full stomp to the face. His Flamy Ink did nothing. Mainly because Charon didn't let it do anything. But yeah, Ogun's down. Charon wins. As a reminder that Charon is, when it comes to pure, like, brute strength, Charon is the strongest in the series. Especially when you pair his strength with his counter abilities. No one has beaten Charon. No one's come close to beating Charon. Radioactive Nataku came close to beating Charon. But Charon took that huge blast and survived. They need something of that power to knock Charon out. So I honestly, without Ogun, there isn't much in the way of brute strength left. Obi has brute strength, but he also has no flame powers, so he's super strong for a normal person. And beyond that, I got nothing. The Tekio, I could see that working, because, they're armor, and they're, iron, and they're much harder than flesh. But honestly, I doubt the Tekio could work here. So I have no idea how we're going to beat Charon, now that Ogun is down. So yeah, the ending of this chapter raises a lot of questions as to where the fuck we go from here. But also, it's great. These 3 pages, the 4 pages of Charon dodging the hit, slamming Ogun down, and then using the stomp. That's some great shit. That's just really good. The other thing to note here, though, beyond, the thrilling kind of hand-to-hand combat of the first part of the chapter, is the sudden backstory about Ogun's ancestor. Which is kind of out of nowhere. It's not, destabilizing out of nowhere. It doesn't upset the plot. It doesn't strain believability. It's not exactly something that Ogun would necessarily bring up all the time. It doesn't come across as something that, we should definitely know already. Though the interesting thing to note that we do get out of that flashback, which is more something about the world building of Fire Force as a whole, and not directly important for the plot. For the plot, is that Raffles was an immigrant. He's not Japanese. Which, explains why his name is so distinctly not Japanese, but it also kind of explains why the Tokyo Empire is so not Japanese. Why it's so shocking that Asakusa is strictly, Japanese, as opposed to the rest of the Empire that's kind of, everyone who survived the Cataclysm. Hodgepodge of cultures. Doesn't really mean much going forward. Given how little left of the series there is at this point. But it's an interesting world-building thing. And if there's one thing the last, 30 or 40 chapters have made clear, is that so much of this series world-building has been plotted out from day one. And it's really coming to fruition now. But anyway, yeah, Ogun loses. And I really don't think he's dead. I really hope he's not dead. I don't think he's dead yet. I think he's definitely out of it. He's gonna be gone for a while. We get this next title, Us Back in the Day. And I'm kind of curious who that might be about. My first thought is Obi and Kinoa. Given that they're kind of, maybe Arthur and Ogun. Maybe Arthur will join this fight now. Because there's no one else. He has been prepping for Dragon. But now this is a more immediate threat. Us Back in the Day refers to Arthur and Ogun in the Academy. That would track. So yeah, that's going to be my definitive theory as to what happens next. Arthur's going to join the fight. Which might leave him underprepared for Dragon's arrival. But at this point, if he does nothing, they die anyway. So yeah, that's kind of all I have to say for this chapter. Great chapter. Cannot Cannot wait to see what happens next, but that's all I have to say, so I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!